Hi, folks. I'm just getting set up here. So give me just a moment. Let me light a candle. Hope everyone's doing well today. Hello, Jean. Hello, Sanja. All right, I'm going to burn some Palo Santo. And then we'll get started. Okay. Okay, I've got a candle lit. I've got some Palo Santo burning. I have a cup of Earl Grey tea. A little pick me up in the afternoon. I've got my deck here. I've got a divination cloth. I've got a pen and paper to keep a list going. I think I'm all set. I saw some folks. Let's see. Sanja and Jean were in the chat earlier, and I think I saw Sanja first request and then Jean right after that. So I put Sanja on my list first and then Jean right after. And so we'll start with you two folks. Thanks for being here. And then we'll add other folks as they come to the reading. So let me do some preliminary shuffling. I hope everyone is staying warm. I know the East Coast of the United States is experiencing some really severe winter storms. I'm on the West Coast and it's a little cold here, but nothing bothersome. And so I feel blessed about that. Okay, so why don't we start with Sanja? If Sanja's here, if you would care to post your question in the chat. Okay. Sanja asks, Dear Will, can you tell me who is the really person that sent me an email last night? Something is weird there, for my opinion. I'm an Aquarius. Thank you. So someone sent you an email last night and you want to know who is this person? Interesting. I assume then it was from an email account you didn't recognize, because if you recognize it, you'd know who the person was. But what we can do is I'll pull 3 cards to describe who this person is. If you are willing, could you give me a little gist of, like, what was the content of the email? Like, was it, um, I don't know, a job offer or a threat or a chain letter or, um, maybe just spam? I don't know. But let's see. Who is this person? What are their intentions? He wanted to know how you are, but you don't know who he is. Weird. And do you need help? That is very suspicious. Okay, let's see for Sanja. Yep. So, the chariot. 6 swords. 6 batons. So, this is someone who is motivated, driven, so to speak, to turn 6 swords into 6 wands, as though they're trying to take something like a difficult path or a painful path and turn it into something that they can work with. I want to throw one more card down because I want to see what comes before the chariot, because the charioteer's eyes are slightly to the left and then the 2 horses are looking left. So let's just see. Okay, 9 cups. Um so this is someone who traditionally the 9 of cups is the wish card. Uh so like someone who's trying to get their wish, and so that is driving them to turn these 6 swords into 6 batons. Now, the sixes in the Tarot de Marseille tend to do with ways of doing things or paths and movement, like vehicles of movement, which is interesting given that we have the chariot, which is an actual vehicle of movement. And so I would read this as someone who's trying to make their path a little easier through work. Um, I don't see any reason to be immediately suspicious of this person. You know, it would be different if the 6 of swords were ending the line of cards, but it's not. If the 6 was ending, it's like they're trying to create the situation that is painful or troublesome or difficult. But that's not true. Instead, we've got the 6 of um, wands. The only thing about the 6 of wands that could suggest anything to sort of beware of with this person is that the 6 of wands can indicate in the Marseille tarot can indicate doing research, like going back in order to move forward. And so, like, gathering information or reading up on someone or something, and like building a case, so to speak, in order eventually to uh, well, do something with that information and move forward with it. And so if you don't know who this person is, the one thing I would suggest is, it is possible that they are trying to like gather information about you. And if that's true, especially on the internet and especially with someone that you just like, you don't even know who it is, um, I would maybe be a little cautious. I'm just checking the chat. You wanted to know how you are and do you need help? Yeah, very strange. You're confused. He knows you, but you don't know him. But how do you know he knows you? Like what? I guess I'm wondering like unscrupulous people on the internet might say that they know you, but if you don't know them, they could, it may not be true. And I would always caution um, vigilance about giving out any information to someone who says that they just want to help and they know who you are and they're just like checking in. It all sounds very suspicious. Now, it'd be different if you sort of knew who this person was. Um, but it sounds like you don't. So my gut is telling me watch out a little bit for that. Uh, Practically speaking, I think it would perhaps make sense to um, ask this person, like, what is it? It's just so weird that someone would sort of out of the blue say, "Hey, I know who you are. Do you need any help?" When you haven't asked for help and then you don't know who that person is. The other thing to think about with the chariot is the charioteer always, um, well, at least in this deck and all the Marseille decks, wears armor, and so they are protecting themselves, right? The charioteer, I don't know if you can see, the charioteer wears heavy armor, right? So they are protecting themselves. And the charioteer, we can also think as someone who is either coming back from or going off to like a battle, right? And they're either celebrating their return from a victory in battle or they're getting hyped up about going off to war or going off to a battle of some kind. And so they're a kind of general in the army, that kind of thing, not necessarily literally. But, this is someone they may not be um, engaging in a fight with you, right? But they are certainly prepared if that were to happen. Uh, and and so I would just, if they have armor on, maybe you should too, right? Um, so I don't know that there's a reason to draw a sword, so to speak, against this person, but I would definitely put your armor on, right? Let's see. He said he's a businessman and he likes you. Yeah, I would be really suspicious of that. Like with no other context, um, and without having other information than what you've said in the cards, I suspect that what this is someone who is trying to do research about you and to use it for purposes that will grant them their own wish, whatever that might be. Um, and so I would really be cautious. Like, I would not, if this person says they know you um, and they want to know if you need help, I just would really question their motivation, right? Like, Why is someone randomly messaging you, unprompted, just to say, "Hey, I can help you"? Um, I just find that really weird. Um, so yeah, I would, unless you can verify that this is like a long lost friend or relative or something, who you really should be interacting with, I would be extremely cautious. And this 6 of swords is like, this person is trying to find something out. They're researching, right? They're gathering information so as to accomplish some goal, likely having to do, I think, with these 9 cups, getting getting some wish of theirs. Um, so I'd watch out. Yeah, I would not. Someone you met online. Yeah, if it's someone you met online and blocked this person, you probably had a good reason for blocking them, right? So I don't know. That this is fishy. This is really suspicious. Okay, let me look. I think someone else was here. Ari XOXO, welcome. Hi. I know I've read for you before. And so I'll add you to my list. Okay, so next we have Jean, and then we'll do Ari's reading. Sanja, I would be very tight-lipped. Like, don't give any information that could be used against you to this person on the internet. Um, and practically, you could, maybe just say like, "I'm sorry, I can't remember who you are. can you remind me? Like, how do I know you again? Do we know each other?" That kind of thing. You're welcome, Sandra. You're very welcome. Okay, so Jean wants to know, someone will represent with the initial I. What are I's feelings and intentions towards Jean? Okay, and is this a love interest? Is this a crush? Love interest. Okay. So, someone you're interested in romantically, and you want to know what are their feelings and intentions towards you. Got it. Okay. Ah, there's our 9 cups again. Well, that's good to see. Potentially. Let's see what the other cards are. Oh, 9 cups turn into 9 batons. And then we're left with a coin. Okay. So, nines I read in terms of changes. So, a change for the better turns into a change of method or a change of social status. Nines can be the suit of social status. They're also much more practical than the cups are. And this transformation of cups to batons results in what would we call it? A kind of excess or profit of a single coin. So um, this suggests that their the romantic feelings that they've had um, towards you, because they are here, but they have sort of shifted, right? So feelings they had that might lead towards a romantic relationship have taken a change of direction and become more practical, so to speak. Uh, like more about an interest in working together, or thinking about like how might a relationship or connection with you lead to a change, hopefully for the better, in their social situation. And so uh, recently I've been reading this card as it looks kind of like a bullseye, right? Like a target. You got to hit the bullseye. And so it's like they're recalibrating. They were aiming in one way, and now they've changed direction a bit. And now they're thinking, maybe I was missing the mark, and I should aim this direction instead. Now, this card can also represent a message, okay? And that's because traditionally, when you turn it on its side, it looks like an envelope with a seal, right? Like a letter that you would mail. And so, um, and of course, aces also indicate great potential, although nothing having happened yet. So, I think that this person has an interest in you, and that it's shifted uh, in character a little bit over time from being like potentially a kind of them having a crush on you, perhaps so much so that they feel like you're unapproachable, to something more practical where they're thinking, actually, maybe I could build something with this person that's real. Uh, but the coin if we had an ace of cups here, I would think very much in terms of the potential beginnings of a romantic relationship. With an ace of coins, it's more like the beginnings of a more transactional kind of relationship, right? Something more akin to friends, acquaintances, or depending on like if you were students together, I might say a study partner, that kind of thing, or like a business associate if you work together, that kind of thing. Um, so there is nothing to be afraid of with this person if that's all at all a concern. There's no like concern of underhandedness or deceit. There's nothing like that. But there is a sense that there is the potential for value. Coins are valuable value in the connection with you. Um, and that can be great as long as it's reciprocal. um, but if we're wondering like is this the be all and end all love relationship of all time, then I would really want to see these nine cups at the end of the string. And seeing them at the beginning suggests that while it's possible that is still lingering in the background, it's definitely in the background, and has taken a back seat to other more practical, more like transactional um, concerns. So let me look at the chat. So he's looking for someone to share the rest of his life with and have children with. He said he's not looking to hook up or have flings with anyone, and I've never been that kind of person either. He already uses all my ideas for work. Okay. Yeah. So, then that would be something to watch out for. And the value here, I would hate for it to be one-sided, right? Like if it's a give and take thing at work where like he's using your ideas, but you're also using his and you're like collaborating and working together, that's one thing. And that can be great. But if it's like he's taking all of the value and you're not getting anything for it, that's not fair. And so I would suggest, probably putting an end to that. Um, and given that context that you're telling me now, um, I would think about is the value that he's seeing in you. Transactional value isn't necessarily bad, right? Like when we have a conversation with one another, um, that can be beneficial to both parties, but it's also and interesting and all of that, but it's not necessarily the kind of thing that will result in what you described above, which is him wanting to find someone to share the rest of his life with and have children with. Um, so I guess to answer your question, um, I think he sees you as a valuable kind of practical resource, but I don't know that he sees you and an interesting resource too or person too, but I don't know that he sees you as that person that he wants to spend the rest of his life with and have children with, right? Yeah. Oh, and the this deck you're asking about, which I love. This was a gift, but I know that it's available it's by Dead on Paper. Dead on Paper. It was not Kickstarter. Last I checked, it was still available on their website. And the website's not on the packaging, but I think that it's like deadonpaper.com or something like that. Um, and I imagine that you can probably still find it, but if they had a Kickstarter version, this is not it. This is the one available on their website. This is the deck for anyone who wasn't in my live stream yesterday. This is the deck I used yesterday, the Arcana Tarot playing cards. It's fantastic. I love this deck, and I love the size, and I could go on and on about it. Yeah, yeah. Let's look at the surprise card for Jean. Knight of Coins. And so, it's coins again, right? So, what are his feelings and intentions towards you? Well, the Knight of Coins is very slow. That's one characteristic. They're the slowest of the knights, but they are advancing. They're moving forward, but towards what? Well, they're pursuing their coin, right? So they're pursuing something that is valuable in a transactional way. If it's the kind of thing that would get them a bonus at work, for example, because you mentioned work earlier. This is not the Knight of Cups who is interested in a a a big drawn out romance. You know what I mean? This is someone who's interested in pursuing uh, what they find as sort of culturally valuable. Um, yeah. But also, so like, this is not, I would say this, I don't see any reason here to think that this is someone who has bad intentions towards you. But I also don't think that this is someone who's like, I want to marry that person. I want to get together and have kids with that person, right? Um, that's what I'd see from these cards. PJ, thanks. Thanks for loving my setup. I just got this bandana or divination cloth the other day, and I'm trying it out. I thought it would be pretty on camera. Gene says, I'm not a fan of the Knight of Cups. He tends to be a player. Yeah, I mean, he's not trying to hurt people. I don't think the Knight of Cups is trying to hurt people. Um, but he's in pursuit of what or she, depending, finds valuable. Um, and I think sometimes the Knight of Cups just doesn't see that their pursuit, slow and steady as it is, may be a little myopic, like a little too focused on this bright, shiny coin, without considering other factors. Like, I'm not sure the Knight of Coins is ever thinking like, "Gee, I wonder how that makes them feel." Right? I don't think the Knight of Coins thinks that way, really. So they're not trying to hurt people, but they might sort of anyways, without necessarily intending to. Yeah, they're looking to invest, they're looking for stability, sure. Yeah, like, they don't have bad intentions, but they're also not gonna, like, check in necessarily and say, "How does that make you feel? Are you okay? Am I going too slow?" You know? Yeah. Well, that makes sense. He used to be very emotional, and he's trying to be more logical. That is exactly what this shows to me. Um, Emotions, and, I know there's considerable debate about this, um, and I know that I read these differently based on, my study and my teacher. I read these differently than most, but, the Knight of Coins have to use their mind to get those coins, and so I do often associate the coins or the pentacles, with the intellect. Yeah. Okay, so let me look. We've got Ari XOXO next, and then I'm adding PJJ1111 to the list. And so, Ari, if you'd like to post your question, I will read for you. Sapiosexual, I love that word. For anyone who's not familiar, it means someone who is attracted to intellect, right? Like, someone who finds, whoops, someone who finds a brilliant mind to be very attractive. You're welcome, PJ. So Ari XOXO wants to know Otis's feelings, and will he contact me? Okay. And so, Ari, is this someone you have ever dated? Or someone, I'm assuming this is a love question, or is this someone that you just would like to date? Okay, you have dated them, basically dated. Okay. So someone you've been involved with before, but now you're not, and you're wondering, what do they think about you? What are they feeling? And it ended a month ago. You're wondering, is this ever coming back again? Is he going to reach out, or should you kind of leave it behind? Okay. Big Stan, that's an interesting comment about sapiosexual. Like it felt like an insult. I love your mind because you're so damn ugly. I can see how you might take it that way. I mean, I don't think sapiosexual, a person who identifies that way, would say they're necessarily only interested in the mind, but I can see what you mean. Like, um, thank God you're smart because otherwise I wouldn't want anything to do with you, right? Okay, so here we go. For Ari, we want to know Otis's feelings about Ari. Okay, so we've got our wand, which can often mean active sexuality. Oh, there's our Knight of Coins again. And there's our Ace of Coins again. You all saw me shuffle. I shuffled at least 7 times. Okay, so interesting. We have another string ending with this Ace of Coins, and as I said a moment ago, this can refer to a message. And so, this sort of part of your question, Ari, was, is this person going to contact you? And so when I see this card, I think, oh, there's an envelope with a message. So uh, I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if this person did contact you. Um, I do also think it's interesting the way that the 2 aces are here, and they're flanking, um, the Knight of Coins, which also has a single coin in it. So there's a lot of sort of oneness or unity or potential going on here. Um, everything going back to the beginning and refocusing, that kind of thing. So, um whenever I see the Ace of Wands, I think a new opportunity. I think it can be a new duty or a new obligation. Uh, and of course, I think in terms of sexuality. And so, like, I think there is something there, like a spark that is still there. And the obstacle, I think, to it going somewhere is, again, the speed of the Knight of Coins. The Knight of Coins is just so darn slow. He's got the I think it's like a Clydesdale horse. It's the biggest, slowest horse, and it gets somewhere eventually, but it's very much a slow and steady wins the race kind of a deal. And so this is saying like taking the opportunity to very slowly, eventually, when he gets to it, send a message. Yeah. Um, Also, the Knight of Coins can be lazy, right? Like a positive characteristic of the Knight of Coins is their stability and their security and their motivation to keep going. But the reverse side of that is boredom and laziness. And because they go so slow, sometimes they're like almost crawling to a stop. There's too much momentum and they have trouble like getting up and going again. And so those are the kinds of things I would suggest are would characterize this person, Otis, with regard to you. That like um, there maybe is too much momentum, and so they're just inching along before they're going to get to the point where they will um, invest their coin, so to speak. Right? Uh, I don't think he has any bad intentions towards you, but he's the kind of person who you really, he almost needs like someone to poke him, take that pitchfork and like, come on, let's go, because he just moves so slowly. Okay, let's see. It's long. Okay, Ari says it's long distance. We casually dated for 2 years. Ari says he hurts me. Like, does he intentionally do it? So, I'm gonna stick to just one question per person today. So, like, I'm not gonna pull other cards, um, but, uh, sort of like I was saying a moment ago to Jean, I don't think the Knight of Coins is intentionally trying to hurt someone. Um, but that doesn't mean people won't get hurt under the slow plot of the horse, so to speak. Um, in the Knight of Coins pursuit of their coin, of whatever it is that is shiny and valuable to them, they will keep plodding along. And if something sort of falls underfoot or gets in the way, uh, they might stop to or go around it, but they also might just keep plodding on. And so I wouldn't say that they're like the kind of person who takes any kind of joy or pleasure in hurting others, but they might kind of let it happen if something sort of gets in their way. Yeah. So that's what I would say, Ari, is after quite a period of time, because they move so slowly, it's possible you're going to receive a message from this person. Um, and while I don't think that they're malicious, I also don't know um, that if getting their coin meant stepping on a few toes, I think they might go ahead and step, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me just see. Welcome to those who have joined, James. Um, Next on my list, I have PJJ1111. And so if PJ is here, I can read for PJ. And then Big Stan, I see that you posted a question. So I'll put you on the list. Okay, so is PJJ here? Yes, hi PJJ, it is your turn. So if you'd like to post your question, I can read for you. That's okay. You're just right on time. Okay. So Prob, you want to know, is Richard interested in me genuinely, or is it just one-sided? Because I sense it sometimes, but then I'm not sure. You work with him, so that's a factor you can't really see. Okay. So it sounds like this is someone at work, Richard, that you have a kind of crush on, and you want to know, like, does this person have feelings for you too? Is there a potential for a relationship, or is it one-sided? You feel something for him, but he does not reciprocate. Okay. So we'll pull 3 cards. We're trying to determine Richard's interest or not in Prob. Okay, let's see. Here we go. First card down, King of Cups. 8 of Cups. And the Empress. And let's put one more down because I want to see what the Empress is looking at. Oh dear, the Devil. Okay. Okay, well, all these cups do indicate a romantic, a love interest. So I would read this here as Richard is the King of Cups, you are the Empress, and the King of Cups is looking at the 8 cups. If we follow their gaze further, it reaches the Empress, and if we follow it even further, it reaches the Devil, right? So is there an interest here? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Uh, it's complicated though. Without this Devil card, it's a little less complicated, but the Empress for sure, and perhaps the King of Cups as well, are looking at something else, and I wanted to know what that was, and that's why I pulled the Devil card, and so that's where the complication comes in. Uh, so the King of Cups he's trying his best. He's feeling something, but the King of Cups is the card that comes up when someone has feelings, emotions, uh, creative experiences, even that they really want to express, but they know that because of the context and cultural conditions, they can't, or they can't express themselves in the way that they would like to, in the way that, oh, I don't know, a page or a Knight of Cups might go ahead and do. And so the King of Cups has to restrain themselves because they're a king, right? They have to maintain their power. And if they're going to do that, they can't express everything that they feel all the time or as genuinely as they might like to. And so I think pretty clearly, given the context you've said, this indicates the fact that there's a workplace situation here. The King of Cups, in order to maintain their standing as King of Cups, must restrain their feelings because of the context of the workplace. Now, the 8 of Cups here indicates them thinking very nice thoughts about you, this Empress, um, and that the atmosphere or environment around or between the 2 of you is very good. The fact that you're showing up as the Empress indicates sort of 2 things. One, the Empress actually outranks the king by a bit, right? Because the Emperor and the Empress, they are in control not only of each little kingdom, but of like everything. So the king controls his kingdom, right? His own little parcel of the world. Uh, but the Empress and the emperor, they control all of the kingdoms, right? So um, that is an interesting thing to note. You're on similar levels, but not identical ones, right? It'd be different if like one of the queens were to show up here, but it's not the queen; it's the empress, and so I would take that as significant. Uh, the empress too is someone with plenty of power to act, though she often exercises her power through others. Like, she can't just issue a decree or make a new law or whatever it might be without going through the proper channels. And so she has some restraints on her too, in the same way that the King of Cups can't just do or say what he feels because the context doesn't permit it. So there's all of that. And then we've got the devil. And the devil indicates, in the way that I tend to read it, um, being enthralled by someone, right? It's almost like imagine the King of Cups and the Empress turning into these 2 little devils or demons, right? And they can't get away from this devil. So, like, there is something between you that isn't going anywhere and that is holding you to one another. Uh, but it may not be good for you, right? Because the devil, while the devil can be a lot of fun, the devil is not usually good for us, right? The devil can be, a drunken weekend in Las Vegas, which is a whole lot of fun, but you have a hangover and no money by the time the weekend's over. And so, was it worth it? Like, did you have a great time? Yeah, but are you going to regret it when you see the credit card statement and you wake up with a hangover? That kind of thing. And so, in the context of your workplace situation, I would read the devil here as like, it seems like a forbidden temptation, and you really want to sort of pick the apple, like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. But what will be the consequence of doing that? And so I think both of these figures, the king and the empress, with the restrictions on them, are like aware that dating someone in the workplace may not be a smart move. Right? And so to answer your question, of like, what are his feelings towards you? I think that there is something there, like a romantic kind of good feeling, um, but that there is also a great sense that this is off limits. And though perhaps he can't get away from it, he's chained to it. Um, there's very much a sense that it's forbidden. And also, when something is forbidden, we want it more. And so it could also be that kind of dynamic of, um, oh, this is someone I really can't have. And so that is part of what's feeding my desire, right? Which can be a tricky situation to end up in. But that's the answer I'd give, is he interested in you genuinely? Yes. And I think that's why you're sometimes sensing something, but then the times you're not sure, it's, I think, when he's pulling back and he's pulling away, and because he knows, like, even if I feel something, I need to not do anything about it because um dating someone in the workplace would put me in service to this devilish situation. Yeah. Welcome to anyone who might be joining. I'm Will of the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm doing some free live tarot readings today. Let me look through the chat and see if anyone has requested a reading since I last looked. So Nipati or Nidia, I see you posted a question. I can add you to the list. Okay. Okay, so next on my list, I have Big Stan, I believe. Big Stan asked a question in the chat earlier. Let me see if I can find it. Will the Virgo be back? I feel like it's going to happen, but I don't trust my gut anymore. Okay. Prab, you're very welcome. Okay, so Big Stan, are you here? Yes, great. Okay, so the Virgo you asked about, um, am I correct in understanding that this is someone you've dated in the past? Got it. Long distance situation in the past. Okay. So you dated this person long distance in the past and you're no longer together and you want to know, will this person come back? So let's shuffle and pull some cards, and you're in a no contact with them now. Okay. Okay, let's see for Big Stan. Will this Virgo be back? All right, we have the Hermit, 4 coins. There's the Knight of Coins again. This card is stalking me today. So let's close the string. I want to know what the Hermit's looking at and what the Knight Coins is looking at. So the Hermit is looking at 7 swords. That would probably be whatever caused the breakup. All right, the Knight of Coins is looking at death, and death is looking at is looking at 2 batons. Um, okay, so the quick answer to your question I'll give, and then I'm happy to talk about all of these cards and give details. But I think my answer would be I don't see them coming back. And let me explain why. Um, Something pretty rough, it seems, like went down between the two of you. 7 of Swords is a difficult card. This is sevens are challenges or troubles or pain, and swords are troubles and pain. So it's like trouble on top of trouble. The 7 of Swords traditionally is the card of tears. So um, they are shining the light as the hermit, and the hermit, of course, is alone, right? Single, shining a light on the pain from the past. And that results in them wanting there to be no change. Fours, especially the 4 of Coins, is the way things are is steady, and so I wouldn't expect there to be a shift or a change when we see the 4. Now that said, there is a sense of wanting maybe to add a fifth coin, like with the Knight of Coins again, slowly creeping up this interest in like, what if I did reach out? What if I did send a message, right? And so there is a little sense there that they are thinking about that, right? But does it happen? And Death and the Two Batons is saying no. Um, the skeleton of Death takes their scythe and slashes away these two batons. And we could read the two batons as cooperation between the two of you, or the two of you sort of getting together, right? Interacting, intersecting with one another again. And Death comes along and says, nope, stop that, cut that out. So I would say I don't see this person coming back, although I do think they're thinking about it. Like they entertain that idea, but uh, but then they murder it, so to speak, with Death. That idea exists, and then they kind of they have squashed it, so to speak. So that that may not be what you were hoping to hear, but um, that's what I would see with these cards. All right. Welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will of the Hermit's Lantern Tarot, and I'm doing some free live tarot readings today. Let me just consult my list and see. I think I've had some other folks request readings. Champagne, welcome. I'll add you to the list. Followed by Stormborn. Stormborn, you're very welcome, Big Stan. Very welcome. Okay, so and then Alexa Pat. Okay, so my current list is I can't read my own handwriting. Nipati, and then Champagne, followed by Stormborn and Alexa Pat. All right, so Nipati is next. Let me gather my cards and shuffle. And Nipati wants to know, does John have strong romantic feelings for me? Nydia. Okay, so Nydia wants to know, does John have strong romantic feelings for me? And is John a crush? Like someone you are, someone you have strong romantic feelings for, and you're trying to figure out, are those feelings reciprocated? Got it. Okay, let's see. And welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will of the Hermit's Lantern Tarot. And I'm doing some free live tarot readings today. Welcome everyone who's joined. Escorpiona. Yes, I've still got the list open. I'll probably close it pretty soon. But in a moment, I can add Escorpiona to the list. Yes, I'll add you, Escorpiona. Okay, so okay, one more time. Okay, so Nydia wants to know if John has strong romantic feelings for her. Let's see. All right. First card down, 9 cups. That is promising. 6 coins. Aha, 7 cups. So, the presence of all the cups is a yes. I do think there's a but in there, but I would say there is some feeling, and I would say it's strong given the 9 cups. There is a tender romantic kind of feeling, on his part towards you. Uh, but it's complicated by something, and I don't have any context to know the detail of what that might be. The 9 of cups is about, things changing for the better, improvements. It's the wish card as well. The 6 of coins, this is about like energy, vitality, moving from one point to another. So, like, there's a feeling here that his tender feelings for you are in a current that is moving from point A to point B. Uh, but then something is complicating it because we've got the string of cards ending with cups again, which we generally like to see in a love reading. But sevens are an odd number that indicates discord or a challenge or some trouble that is mucking things up a bit. And so, um, yes, to answer the question in the short way, yes, there are feelings there, but something is upsetting them. Uh, it could be that there are other people involved. It could be that he doesn't know how you feel about him. It could be any number of things, but they're troubling his heart. They're upsetting him for some reason, and that's blocking the flow, um, from you to him, blocking the sort of energy. Yeah. And Nidia says we are apart, so maybe it's geography, right? Like, um, if you're 1,000 miles away from each other, then it could be the kind of thing where he's thinking, "Do I wanna get involved with someone who I can't actually get close to because that is just gonna make me sad?" And so it makes more sense to refrain altogether, right? That's a possibility. It's not so far. Yeah. Um, there's some complication. You know what? Let's look at the bottom of the deck. Let's see if that gives any more insight. It's cups again, which definitely indicates good feeling, right? 8 of them. Is there any way that there could be other people involved? Because the 8 of cups can mean like there's just too many other people looking at the situation, too many other people involved, like, not necessarily with bad intent or anything, but like if other people's families are involved in this person's love life, it can complicate things and all of that. But yes, Nydia says yes, other people. Yeah. So, I mean, I would. my like a little bit of advice might be like go forward with the assumption that this person has nothing but good feelings towards you, and maybe take the first little step to um, show him that you have those feelings too, and take it from there. There's nothing in these cards to indicate anything other than good feeling and a sense of value towards you, from him towards you. You're very welcome. Okay, so yes, champagne is next. You're very welcome, Nidia. Champagne is next, and Champagne wants to know, what am I being asked to work on in my life currently? Cool. I like that question. Okay, and um, I I am going to use a spread that I don't think I've used on my channel before, because I think it will work really well with this question that Champagne has posed. And it's a little pyramid spread with 6 cards, 3 at the bottom, 2 in the middle, and 1 at the top. And I haven't. It's a newer spread for me, and so I've been playing around with it. But the bottom 3 cards will indicate the current situation. The 2 cards on top of that will answer your question of what work do you need to get done. And the top card indicates the sort of final point. The top of the pyramid, so to speak. So let's do that. And welcome to anyone who might be joining. My name is Will of the Hermit's Lantern Tarot. Hi, Benziah. Good to see you here. Okay, so Champagne wants to know, what are you being asked to work on in your life currently? So, bottom 3 cards indicate the situation. It's the Magician, Nine Cups, and the Sun. Okay. So, the Magician, or Le Battleur, is extremely skillful, right? He's got a lot of things on his he or she has a lot of things on his table, perhaps too many of them. And so the first thing that comes to mind is, do you need to sort of clear away some of the clutter in your life in order to choreograph and orchestrate and organize things in your life for your own benefit, to improve things. Uh, in order to get to your Nine of Cups and Sun situation, the Sun I read in terms very much of friendship. It can also mean a relationship. It's about a symmetrical relationship where both people are giving and both people are getting something out of it. We could also think here with the sun, which shines very brightly, we could think about seeing things clearly. So, is there a way in which your current situation might ask you to be more skilled in clearing off your table, organizing the things in your life in order to get your fulfilling wish of seeing things as they are more clearly, uh, rather than maybe as you'd want them to be. Let's place two cards above that to indicate the work that needs to get done. Hmm. So, can I ask Champagne, are you is there any love interest here? I'm asking because I see the Sun, the Knight of Cups, and the King of Cups, and the Nine of Cups. And so, um, if there's any possible romance, love situation in the context of your life, um, that might be helpful to know about. Because, the Knight of Cups is one who offers up their feelings to others, and this can be the card of the romantic, right? But then the King of Cups, as I said earlier in a previous reading today, the King of Cups, he doesn't put a lid on it, but if you look at just the imagery of how open the Knight of Cups cup is, it's very open, although it's a little shallow. The King of Cups cup is the opening is extremely narrow. Less gets in and out, but it is a deeper cup. And so the work to be performed here might have to do with regulating, having skill over your emotions uh, in a way that is maybe less open to offering them up in a shallow way and more into deepening them by um, restraining them a bit. And I'm just going to check the chat. Okay. So Champagne says Champagne is avoiding relationships, but it could be popping up. Dreading relationships, too many lessons, and not wanting the burden of a relationship currently, and that's fine. I think many of us have been in that situation where you're like, "This is not the time to have a relationship." Um, so the other thing I see with these two court cards is that they don't look at each other; they're facing away from one another, uh, and so is there a friendship with anyone that maybe you're not seeing eye to eye with? Because that would be another possibility. With the Sun card, we have these two figures looking at each other closely, but then up here, they're like they've turned away from one another. And so, earlier, just a moment ago, I read these 2 cards as different versions of yourself, but another way to read them would be as 2 people who are no longer seeing eye to eye. And so it could indicate that if there's anyone, like a friendship, that you've had any kind of a falling out with, or that you're not feeling as connected to this person as you used to be, um, the thing to work on would be that relationship, right? Ah. And the top card, the Pinnacle, is 6 swords. So the 6 of swords is about having a difficult path to walk. And I think seeing it at the top of this pyramid is saying what you're being asked to work on is in your relationships with others and in your emotions, you're going to confront some conflict and some difficult things, and what you need to work on is walking that path anyways. Because the 6 of swords can be the card of somebody backing out, or of somebody going the wrong way, or of somebody abandoning somebody else. And, it's the card of like, instead of going forward, you go backwards, right? Uh, and so, because the path is too painful or difficult. And so I think that's what you're being asked to work on is to confront difficult emotions and to confront difficult aspects of relationships in this upcoming year. Um, Even because they're different, even though it might be a challenge or painful or hurt or just requires skill, right? To make the effort of walking that difficult path anyways. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the chat and Champagne says, "Someone I'm probably supposed to be with, but I'm avoiding it. Yes, I went through a lot to be with this person. Now that I have him, I don't even want him anymore. So this is true." Okay, yeah. So addressing that, I mean, that is it. That is what you need to work on, is determining. And I do kind of think something you said in the chat. Uh, have you ever heard the phrase, "As soon as you get what you want, you don't want it"? Or the grass is always greener on the other side. Um, be careful, not just you, but like I think all of us, all people need to be careful of being directed by our desires um, in ways that aren't helpful to us, because if we desire something only when we don't have it and then we get it and we're unsatisfied, the issue is not with the person or the thing that we got. The issue that we need to confront is with our own desires, right? Okay, so let's look at the chat here and my list. My list has Stormborn, Alexa, Pat, and Escorpiona. So if Stormborn is here, and you are, great. Champagne, you're very welcome. I wish you luck treading that difficult path. It comes up for all of us at one time or another, and relationships are always hard. Okay, so Stormborn wants to know, will Jordan want to reconcile with me and get back together? Okay, so I take it, Stormborn, that this is someone that you dated in the past. You separated, broke up with this person, and now you're wondering, will they ever come back? Divorced, got it. Okay. Okay. Let's see for Stormborn if Jordan will want to come back and reconcile the relationship. And I'm just going to take a sip of tea. Okay. Here we go. The Fool. 10 cups. Page of coins. Let me look at these a minute. Very interesting cards. So we see two people, a fool and a page, and they're looking in the same direction. And what's between them is 10 cups. So there is something between them, but it also creates distance, right? In other words, the two cards are not immediately looking at each other. And in a lot of ways, I tend to read the tens in terms of, the aces are a beginning and the tens are an end, right? They're the end. Um, and so looking at these, I'm trying to just figure out how to say exactly what is going through my head in the right way. The 10 of cups this is as good as it's ever going to get, right? It never gets better than the 10 of cups. There's no 11 of cups, right? And so, in a sense, it's like the cards are saying that what's between the two of you is as good as it's going to get, right? Uh, it's also the page of coins looking to the past at like, this is what was before. It might be different if I were to see it like this, for example, right? These two people looking at each other, which results in a 10 of cups situation. But the 10 of cups in the middle is like saying the present right now is as good as it's going to get, right? This is the 10 cups for these two people. Okay, so to answer the question, I think the answer is no. That while this person might have good memories of, if you're divorced, I'm sure they're not all good memories, but I'm sure there were some good memories there. Uh, and those remain, but I don't see like a new beginning, right? Um, I also think it's significant that we have a page and a fool because, and I'm not sure which of these represents which of you. Although I don't know that I need to tease it out to know that, like, if a page and a fool try to build a relationship, how far is it gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, just metaphorically speaking, um, the page or excuse me, the fool is has no idea what they're doing, and they're taking a step forward, risk in or taking a risk forward, um, but they're not considering how dangerous it might be or what consequences there might be. They don't see the dog that's behind them telling them, "Stop, what are you doing?" Or there's a cliff and, all of that. And then the page, it has everything to learn, right? The page is interested, but, the page hasn't even gone through the basic kind of lessons that one needs in order to succeed in life. And so, um, these two getting together would struggle to um, to build a relationship, I think, together. So, the quick answer again to the question I would say is I don't think this person is going to come back, but I do think likely that they're trying to, like, remember the good times. That might be a way of putting it. Mm. Stormborn says, "He was my biggest lesson. We really had it all until he freaked out and betrayed me." Yeah. I mean, the 10 of cups is having it all, at least emotionally, although you need resources and money to pay for those cups too. So, um, it's clear that that was there, and it's to an extent the memory of it is still between you. Um, but I don't think that it's in the future, right? So let's see. Next on the list, I have Alexa Pat. Okay, Alexa Pat had to leave, but did post a question. I'll go ahead and do the reading for it. Alexa Pat wants to know, will Keely fall in love with me and ask me out for a date after August 2026? I don't know if that maybe should be before August 2026. So I'm just going to say, will Keely fall in love with Alexa Pat and ask them out for a date in like the next year? Let's let's phrase it that way. And Stormborn, you're very welcome. With situations like that, I do think my mother said this to me, remember the good times, which doesn't mean you forget the lesson you learned, but also remember the good times. Okay, so for Alexa Pat, will Keely fall in love and ask them out in the next year? Okay, let's see for Alexa Pat, 8 batons, the star, 9 batons. So this indicates an extremely slow movement from 8 to 9. Um, it can be a kind of buildup of pressure. I think of the wands, or the batons rather, as work obligations, pressure, duties, things like that. They also can have to do with our social standing. And so when the 8 of batons hits the star, it slowly, just one, um, increases it from 8 to 9. So the question was, will Keely fall in love? And I don't see cards here to indicate specifically love, which of course would be cups. Um, so my initial, or perhaps one of the major arcana cards. Um, so my initial answer to the question would be no. I don't see specifically love happening or developing. However, because batons are the social suit, we usually work with others in some capacity to build things, and we build with batons, and so they tend to be about um, doing things with other people, our social status, our social standing, working with others, that kind of thing. Uh, there is a suggestion that that is going to increase and and change, I think, likely for the better, right? Um, but I don't see the interaction between these two people turning into a big romance, right? If anything, I see it as perhaps the practical side of their relationship very slowly deepens or develops more strongly. Uh, because the star is in the middle, we can say that there's a brightness there, that perhaps there is a sense of feeling guided uh, into deepening or strengthening the relationship, and a feeling of giving, right? I always think of the way that the star is pouring out of the vessels, like giving. Um, but I don't know that, I wouldn't say that it ends up in a romantic relationship that results in an invitation for like dating, right? But if there's a practical element to the relationship, or a work element, or even just a friendship where the two can work together or even compete together in a fun, congenial kind of way, I would say that certainly continues and very, very slowly develops even further. Yeah. So that is the answer I would give to Alexa Pat. Okay, next on my list is Escorpiana. And so let me see, do I have a question yet from Escorpiana? And if I don't, feel free to post your question, Escorpiana. Here it is. Okay. What do I see coming next for Escorpiana and Jesus? They're in a no contact relationship. So Have you dated in the past? I assume this means you dated, but then like you broke up and now you don't speak. Okay. So you were dating, you broke it off, and you're in a no contact situation. What is next? Okay. And let's read this. I think we'll go from his perspective because you also asked the question, what does he want from you? And so um, those are two different questions. And the way that I read the cards, I find I get the most precise answers when I have a precise um, question. So I think what I'd like to pose is, um, well, I mean, we could do it either way. Like, ooh, it's a love triangle. Ooh, okay. It's a love triangle on your side. Oh, so like you have, it's you, and then you have two love interests, one of which is Jesus. And then presumably, you're married. Okay, I understand. I think I understand. You're married, but you were seeing Jesus. You broke off with Jesus, and you're wondering what's next. Okay. Okay. And the Magician, the Knight of Swords, and 4 coins. So um I think I would read you as the magician here. And I think Jesus would be the Knight of Swords. Uh, and I say that because of the context you provided, in which, in a sense, if you are married and also seeing someone outside of the marriage, in a sense, you have too many things on your table, just like the magician does, right? There's maybe more there than needs to be. And I suspect that, the magician is very skillful at orchestrating things and choreographing their life, and also is able to, um, sort of pull some tricks when they need to. And so the Knight of Swords is charging into that situation. Like the Knight of Swords is a warrior ready to fight. Yeah. Uh, they've got their sword drawn, and the Knight of Swords moves quickly, perhaps even too quickly. The Knight of Swords is the quickest of the knights, to the point where you can sometimes read on the horse's face like a sense that we need to slow down a little bit. But the knight, just keeps wanting to rush forward in a way that is perhaps potentially reckless, right? Um, so part of the question you asked was, what does he want from you? And I think he wants to win the war. That would be a way to put it. Uh, if he's showing up as a kind of knight going into battle, well, what does a knight going into battle want? They want to win the war. Uh, I would say it would probably behoove you to be cautious around this person because this sword can hurt people, right? People can get hurt when someone rushes in too quickly with a sword. Um, and so, you know, protect yourself. Showing up as the magician, I might sort of in a tongue in cheek way say, like, cast some magic, right? Like, um, but more practically, like, be skillful about how you're organizing and arranging things in your life, especially when your table is so cluttered. Um, if you want to, if you're trying to get a certain outcome here. To answer the question, though, I want to, because I feel like these two cards are describing the two people involved in the situation. I know there's three, but two are showing up. And to answer the question, I would go to the last card of the string, which is four coins, and four of coins is about stability and kind of holding on to what you have, because fours cover each corner. Um, they can often indicate that there is no change, right? Like holding on to what you have without it becoming unsteady or falling apart, but then also without it expanding or growing either. And I also can't help but see on this particular card, there's a shield with a like a fortress on it, almost like a little house. Uh, and so, what's coming next for you two, I think, is it like kind of no change, right? Like the situation you're in now, for the near future, I think will probably continue. Um, no like major development, right? Um, and there's a sense of wanting stability and steadiness here. And you did mention in your question that you are looking for marriage and commitment with him. Um, but I mean, practically speaking, um, would you imagine a street performer and a soldier or a warrior um, getting married and settling down? Um, and I'm using those metaphors of the street performer and the warrior because that's the cards that come up, and, it's not impossible to imagine, but it's kinda hard to imagine, right? Like, they lead very different lives. A street performer, a magician, imagine, like, the and I know it's different from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, so if anybody's more versed in Rider-Waite-Smith, they might be confused by what I'm saying, but in the Marseille deck, which is what I read most of the time, um, the Le Batelleur, who is the magician, is a street performer. So imagine like the street performer who's out on the corner, like doing three card Monty and magic tricks and stuff to try to get people's attention and use their skills to make some money, right? You've got that kind of person trying to pair up with a warrior who's rushing in with a weapon, and so there's a very much a mismatch between the two in these cards as they're showing up today in this particular moment, right? Um, and so the answer to the question I'd say is right now, I don't see any big change, right? This current situation remains stable. That would be the most succinct way to put it. Remains stable. Okay. So you're welcome, Miss Scorpiana. You're very welcome. So I've been going for about 2 hours. I think I saw Bob Hope. Are you here? I'm about ready to end, but I think I saw Bob Hope post a question. And so if Bob Hope's here, I would do a quick reading. Otherwise, I think it's probably time to call it a day. Okay. I'm not seeing Bob Hope pop up. So thank you to those of you who joined me in the live stream today. It was a lot of fun reading for you all. Scorpion, I hope you have a great week too. Thanks to everybody who gave me their questions and the opportunity to read for you. I really appreciate you all being here. Please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already to help me build my channel. And I look forward, if there's anyone who I wasn't able to read for today, I look forward to reading for you in the future. And until then, have a great day and take care of each other, be kind to one another. And I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.